I was raised, my mother's single mom, my dad died when I was 4. And so she raised me and she had a drug problem. And she drugged me to Sunday school, she drugged me to church, she drugged me to school. So she did everything that she needed to do to get me as far as she could as a single mother. And then when I graduated from high school and I want to hang around the house, and she told me that hanging around this house is not gonna get me the necessary man training that I need. And so I left home and I joined the Marines. I was gonna show her that I'm just as tough as she is. And when I got in the Corps, it let me know that I was absolutely nothing, and they stripped me down to nothing. And then when they began to build me back up, it was not in the same person that I thought I was. And so having learned discipline from the Marines and in the National Guard for another 8, 9 years, when God got my attention, I was still in my rascalities. I was still doing what the world was, required me to do, was to love the world and the things of the world. So I participated in my fleshly ways in a manner that was ungodly and unseemly. But at the time, that's just the way it was with me. But when God got my attention, he let me know that this was not the life that he created me to be. And where I discovered this was in the bottom of a Jose Cuervo bottle in the bottom of the sinner's barrel. And the Lord met me in the bottom of that place. That's when I found out that when you hit rock bottom, Christ is the rock at the bottom. And he began to let me know that what he created me to be in his body was all joined together with what I had already experienced in this world. For we know all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord and who are the called according to his purpose. And so I found someone I loved more than I did the alcohol and the carousing and my worldly ways, and that was the Lord Jesus. And I had pretty much sold out to the world until I met the Lord. If you do that one more time, me and him gonna have a problem. And so I go in there and he began to preach and get right back in my Kool-Aid again. And I learned on that day, when I left church, I was still upset. And I was on my way, I dropped my wife off. I was on my way to the grocery store, not only to get her something to eat, but to get myself a 12-pack of beer and a fifth of Jose Cuervo because I done my church thing. And so when I bought my
Reward
liquor and I
yourself.
got, uh,
Reward yourself
yeah,
for going
yeah,
to church.
yeah, I did my church thing. So I was doing God a favor, me showing up, in other words.
Mm.
So I put the liquor on the seat next to me with the beer in the passenger seat and put my Bible was on the floor. And a voice spoke and said, "Now, who you riding with?" And I looked over at it. That Jose Cuervo Bible look at me in the face. So and something happened that next morning. Now, this is where it all started. Someone had given my brother a deer the next morning, and he asked me to come over and help him skin it. So I go over to help him skin this deer, and we open that thing up, and he said, "Look, go to the store and get us something to drink while I skin on this deer." So I went to the store and come back with a fifth of Jose Cuervo and a 12-pack of Old Milwaukee. And so when I opened a can of beer and took a swig out of it, I couldn't swallow it. And when I spit it out in that gut pile, it was a pile of guts. And my brother said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Man, this whiskey tried to go down, tried the wrong pipe. I couldn't swallow it." So me and my bad self, I'm gonna try to take another swallow. And this time it felt like something was holding my throat. I couldn't swallow it. And a voice spoke and says, "Look at that whiskey in that gut pile. That's the same way you looked before me. Man, this ain't good." And that same night, I come in, my wife told me, she said, "When you drink, you're not the man I married." And when she told me that, it was just like somebody had pierced me through the very core of my being. And it was a revival going on down at Pleasant Green Baptist Church, and Reverend, I think his name was Reverend Gibson was preaching. And that night was when I had turned my life, God turned my life around. And this was July the 27th of 1998. And I haven't had a drop of liquor since.